Sige. So this is clinical pharmacokinetics. See? So why do we need to study this? Syempre, as pharmacist, it is our role to ensure na we give the correct drug for our patients. When we say correct drug, that includes not just the drug itself, but including yung and dosage regimen, okay, the dosing interval. Now, before we get to have that correct decision on the right drug, right dose, right dosage interval, syempre, we studied pharmacology. We know the principles of the drug action. And we also study the pharmacodynamics and the pharmacokinetics. So when you say pharmacodynamics, I believe we are all knowledgeable. The pharmacodynamics, what the drug does to the body. So that includes the study of the drug's concentration and its effect, okay, to the body. And then pharmacokinetics, what the body does to the drug. But the study also includes the amount of drug na binibigay, gaano karami yung na-absorb and na-distribute, and that is connected also to the effect of the drug. Okay? And aside from that, we take into consideration also the disease state of the patient as well as the other factors that will affect the optimum utilization of this drug. Okay, just like patient variability, pharmacogenomics or pharmacogenetics. We also study the toxicity. Actually, matatakal pa rin natin siya sa pharmacokinetics, though we have a separate subject for toxicology and other clinical factors. So all of this will be studied for us to answer a lot of questions involving drugs, no, para correct talaga ang mabibigay sa patient. Now, nasabi ko kanina, you are already in your second year and you are almost done. You will have your comprehensive exam, and then after that, you will be starting with your thesis. So, one area where you can explore para sa thesis ninyo is itong pharmacokinetic na study, but kaya natin yan. Number one, we are looking into the dose of the agent or the drug. We do preclinical studies. So when you say preclinical studies, we make use of laboratory animals, and then before moving on to clinical trials. And then for the pharmacokinetic na study, ano ginagawa nila? They collect samples, biological samples, from example, kung clinical trial na ito, from the human samples, human subjects, I mean, it can be the blood, the urine, the bile, or the feces, and this is done at various time points. So, for example, we want to know the Tmax, the time where the maximum amount of drug ang na-reach na sa plasma. So they're going to collect blood and then check for the presence of these drugs and then yung concentration niya. Malalaman natin anong time siya nag-peak. Okay? And then, syempre, we analyze in vivo or even in vitro the drugs, including the metabolites, if we are studying the metabolism of these drugs in the body. And all of this data will be analyzed into one, and meron na tayong, at the end of the study, meron na tayong pharmacokinetic profile for our drug. Okay? So, pwede din ito if you are going or you are inclined to do an experimental study. Laban lang dyan ang mag-experimental study. Now, nasabi ko na kanina, pharmacokinetics, what the body does to the drug, and we'll discuss the principles, the 4 fundamental principles of pharmacokinetics. So 4 lang muna, however, di ba na extend na ito ngayon. We have the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. Okay? Though, again, we will extend, we can touch some studies on the toxic effects of these drugs. Now, applying this pharmacokinetic principles in making our in decision making, no, in using the drugs, and then ma-optimize natin yung gamit niya, yung effect niya sa ating patient. That is what you call the clinical pharmacokinetics. So ito yung subject natin ngayon. We will be utilizing the fundamentals or the principles of pharmacokinetics para sa patient needs natin. So once again, when you say pharmacokinetics, start tayo with absorption. But before absorption, I believe we all know na drug administration muna. Unless it is given intravenously, kung mga extravascular routes, kailangan muna ng liberation. So, liberation of the active ingredient. That is why sa QC natin, we do testings like dissolution and disintegration testing for us to check if the drug is really liberated from the dosage form. Now, after that will be the absorption. It's the transfer of the drug from the site of administration to the bloodstream. However, in the study of the absorption of the drug, we consider a lot of things. So number one, we consider, for example, the mechanism of transport of the drug. So ano itong mga mechanism of transport na sinasabi ko? Example, passive diffusion. So we all know a lot of drugs undergo passive diffusion, no? Pero hindi lahat, syempre. Kasi nga we have semi-permeable na membrane. So pag passive diffusion, this is just a little review. This is a transfer of drug from movement of drug along concentration gradient. So that's from a region of higher concentration to the lower one. So since this is a long concentration gradient, this does not need energy, this is not saturable also. Okay? Pero again, hindi lahat nakaka-pass through. So si passive diffusion is governed by the fixed law of diffusion. So di ba sa physical pharmacy natin, when you say fixed law of diffusion, states na yung concentration, yung surface area, and then yung permeability coefficient is directly proportional to the rate of diffusion. And then yung the membrane thickness, yun yung inversely proportional. So yan yung ating fixed law that governs the passive diffusion. That's an example of transport mechanism. Aside from that, we also have facilitated diffusion, wherein this is also a movement along concentration gradient. This does not need energy also. However, this is saturable because from the name itself, facilitated, we have specific na mga proteins, transport proteins na mag-help sa drug na makapass through sa membrane. So, saturable siya. Though, hindi pa rin siya nagni-need ng energy. And then, yung nagni-need ng energy is yung ating active transport. Okay? The movement is against the concentration gradient. So, it's from lower to higher concentration ng mga regions, ang movement. And again, it requires energy, and it can also be saturable because it may also need a specialized protein transporter, okay, for the drug to move. So lastly, we also have endocytosis and exocytosis na the drug engulfment. The cell will engulf the drug. So kung sa endocytosis, we have the phagocytosis and pinocytosis. And then the other way around, kung baliktad, kung ilalabas ang drug, we have the exocytosis. Just like when our body makes neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, ganon. So there is exocytosis. So that is one area na pinag-aaralan natin when it comes to the absorption. Aside from the factors, so diba, we have a lot of factors that will affect the absorption of the drug. And, that includes the pH, kasi diba, Example, aspirin. Aspirin's optimum absorption may take place doon sa part sa GIT na acidic. Kasi nga acidic yung aspirin. Kasi kung doon siya sa part na basic naman, there might be reaction like neutralization. The drug will be ionized, and if the drug is ionized, it will be difficult for it na mag-pass through sa cell membrane. So that's one factor. The pH, the blood flow in the absorption site, the surface area also. So that is the reason why the intestine, the small intestine is the major site of absorption. Kasi nga because of the presence of the villi and the microvilli, making it a very large na surface area. Okay? And then, syempre, the contact time also of the drug. Kaya, when we look back to our biofarm days sa undergrad, di ba, meron tayo doong pinag-aaralan ano yung mga food or mga ginagawa natin that can increase the yung pag-move ng intestine, for example. So magde-decrease ang contact time or mag-i-increase ang contact time. So meron tayo niyan sa undergrad. And last but not the least, there is also the expression or the presence of the P-glycoprotein. It's a specialized protein also in the body, but it has been responsible for some multi-drug resistance because it has the ability to pump out the drug, okay, from the cell. So the drug has already crossed the cell membrane. However, again, the P-glycoprotein can pump it out. So it has become a problem sa absorption or sa may multi-drug resistance tayo. So, again, those are the things we need to consider when we study the absorption of the drug. Okay? So, aside from that, di ba, we have the so-called bioavailability. Meron tayong mga computation. So, we will have that as we move on with the subject. So, until December pa ata tayo. We will have computations for the bioavailability. Diba? So, di ba, when you say bioavailability, it's the fraction or the amount of the drug that reaches the bloodstream. And we will study also the different factors that will affect bioavailability. Example, the first pass effect. Okay, so we have drugs na nag-undergo ng extensive na first pass effect like the nitroglycerin. So that is the very reason why we don't really administer it orally. So kasali yun siya sa factor. So aside from that, the physical and the chemical properties of the drug as well as yung dosage form niya mismo. Yun yung mga factors na nag-i-influence ng bioavailability. All of that will be under the study of the absorption. So absorption lang muna yon. Okay? So sa absorption, we also look into the concentration of the drug, and then after that we will study about the distribution. So kailangan kasi the drug will be transferred from the blood to the tissues. Makaabot sila sa target site. Okay? So sa target site kailangan kasi natin ma-reach yung MEC na tinatawag, yung minimum effective concentration, para meron nga siyang effect. Okay, so chine-check din natin yan. And we also have factors that might affect distribution of the drug, just like protein binding. So remember, protein is a very big molecule. It can affect yung pag-cross ng drug sa cell membrane. So because of that, the concentration of the drug at the target site might be limited. Okay, so we also compute kailan yung ating next dose, considering there is protein binding. Okay, and then also we will study about the elimination. Pag sinabing elimination, that includes two processes. We have the metabolism and excretion. So for the metabolism, Syempre, we have the major site of metabolism, our liver. That is where we produce most of the enzymes for the metabolism, especially the CYP450 enzyme. However, we can also metabolize sa ibang parts sa ating body. Actually, we have three major like pathways sa metabolism. Number one talaga is the hepatic metabolism, but we can also have biliary and yung sa renal, urinary na metabolism. Pwede din yun siya. And then, we have to consider also the presence of our prodrugs, yung ating mga inactive drugs, but once metabolized in the body, that's the time na activated na siya. Okay? And then again, lastly, we have the excretion. So, under yan silang dalawa sa elimination ha. Kaya marami tayong mga computations like we compute for the elimination rate constant, the drug clearance. Ano yan sila, very important pharmacokinetic parameters para ma-design natin yung ating dosage interval and dosage regimen. Okay? Sa excretion, syempre our major site for excretion is yung ating kidneys. Meron tayo, pinag-aaralan natin yung glomerular filtration rate, yung tatlo yan sila, di ba? The proximal tubular secretion and the distal tubular reabsorption. But anyway, sa kidneys, yan lahat. Okay? So that is all for the pharmacokinetics. We will study also some concepts ng pharmacodynamics. Okay? So, sa pharmacodynamics, we will talk about the pharmacologic effect of the drug. And we all know, before the drug elicits their action, they need to interact first with a receptor. So, a receptor can be a protein. Most of the time, it's a protein. So, that's 90% of the receptors. And then the remaining are lipids and nucleic acids. So, anong pag-aaralan natin sa pharmacodynamics? We may study about the receptors, the nature of the receptors. For example, so sabi ko nga, they are most likely proteins, but we have different proteins na pwedeng receptors. Meron tayong regulatory proteins, just like yung receptors ng ating mga neurotransmitters, hormones in the body. We also have transport proteins that can be used as a receptor. Example is the sodium-potassium ATPase, which is the target of our digoxin. And then we also have structural proteins like the tubulin, the one that makes up the mitotic spindle. It has been a target of the colchicine. At the same time, our anti-cancer drug like the paclitaxel. Okay? So, nature yun ng ating mga receptors in the body. Now, ulitin ko, you will be doing thesis also, or you may proceed with your PhD and then mag-study din kayo. This is one area sa study ng pharmacy kasi diba we have the so-called orphan receptors. These receptors, hindi pa rin known yung ligand nila. So ano yan siya, area for study, okay, sa pharmacy. Aside from that, what else? Aside sa nature kasi yun ng receptors, we also study the subtypes or the classes of receptors. We have this in our pharmacology also. Yung classes of receptors, like when you say class 1 receptor, we call that ionotropic receptor. From the name itself, these receptors are associated with ion channels. Like, example, we have the nicotinic receptor. Once activated by a ligand or a drug, nicotinic receptor will lead to the opening of the sodium channels. And once open, syempre, sodium will enter. the sodium is positively charged, thus um, the inside membrane of the cell will become more positive. We call that depolarization, and that will stimulate the cell. Okay. Another example is the GABA receptor. Si GABA receptor naman is associated with chloride channel, and once activated by a ligand, uh, especially the GABA, no, it's the ligand, chloride channel will be open, chloride will enter the cell, and since chloride is negatively charged, then the inside membrane of the cell will become more negative. So since more negative siya, hindi ma-stimulate ang cell. Instead, bababa yung kanyang function. And from that pa lang, we can picture out, or we can differentiate now the difference in the activity of a drug or a ligand that acts on the nicotinic receptor, and a drug that acts on the GABA receptor. So that's under the class 1 type of receptor. Okay? And then we also have the class 2, we have the metabotropic receptor. Now this time, this is associated with a G protein. We have lots of G proteins, GS, GQ, and GI. Pag ang ligand mag-bind sa class 2 receptor, G protein will be activated. And depending on what G protein is activated, meron siyang sequelae after. So for example, GS is being activated. Pag na-activate si GS, in turn, it will activate the enzyme adenylyl cyclase. And adenylyl cyclase activation will proceed into the production of a secondary messenger, which is the CAMP, the cyclic adenosine monophosphate. So yun siya. Si CAMP na ngayon yung magdedetermine sa effect sa body. But anyway, that's the pharmacologic effect of the ligand that started the sequel. Okay, the sequence of happenings for the class 2. So example of a class 2 receptor is the muscarinic receptor, one of the major receptors no ng ating cholinergic drugs, especially the acetylcholine. And then we also have class 3 receptors. We have the enzyme linked receptor. So from the name itself, enzyme linked. This time naman, if the ligand binds to the class 3 receptor, an enzyme will be activated. And most likely, it's the tyrosine kinase na enzyme. Example of that is the insulin. Pag ang insulin mag-bind sa kanyang class 3 receptor, tyrosine kinase will be activated, and that will result to a pharmacologic effect. So we all know ano yung effect ng ating insulin sa body. So what else? The last one is the class 4 receptor. So we have intracellular receptors. From the name itself, intracellular, that is inside the cell. So it may take longer time compared to the first 3 kasi kailangan yung drug nasa loob talaga siya ng cell. Ano example natin dyan? Yung na-mention ko kanina, the tubulin, which is the target of the colchicine and paclitaxel. So tubulin is the protein doon sa mitotic spindle natin. So syempre nasa loob talaga siya. So yan yung target ng colchicine and the paclitaxel. So yan yung under sa pharmacodynamics. If we know this type of receptors, we will know the effect of the drugs in the body, as well as their toxicities, kasi makikita mo naman kung excessive na itong drug, ano yung effect nitong receptor na ito. And that is the reason also i-connect natin siya sa pharmacokinetics. We compute, we study about elimination of drug clearance in the body, the volume of distribution, for us to avoid na magkaroon ng toxicity yung ating patient. Okay? So aside from that, we will study also the drug concentration and yung kanyang response sa body. So definitely we'll be talking also about the maximum efficacy of the drug as well as its potency. So yung sa concentration banda. And then we will talk about also the quantal dose effect curve, yung yung concentration or dose that is most likely effective for most of the population. So kaya meron tayong 'di ba mga ED50, TD50. Sample ED50, it's the concentration that is effective for 50% of the population. So para that will open also the discussion for the therapeutic index. Pero i-divide natin yung topic. We will start with the basics. So we will start with, for example, the compartment models that we have in the study of pharmacokinetics. And then we will move on to the different pharmacokinetic parameters. So we will relearn, we will review about the first order, zero order, diba? And then including all the computations involving that, like yung sa elimination rate constant. We will also have to do computations, again, for volume of distribution, for drug clearance, for bioavailability, kasi connected na yan sila lahat. So itong present ko sa inyo is just an intro, a picture of what we are going to discuss and do sa subject until December. So as promised, this is just 5 slides. Yun na siya ang ending. Do you have questions or clarifications about that? I'll be sending you a copy of that 5 slides as well as the recording. If ever, kasi there are still students na hindi pa sila, I think naka-enroll or naka-enroll na sila pero their payment is still pending sa finance. So para they can review this anytime also. So we'll be starting with the discussion and the reporting. Next meeting, I think anong date yan? August 17. Pero please wait, I will be posting the topics as well as your names as reporters, and then yung inyong schedule din para we are all guided. So for the meantime, sabi ko nga, I will not be holding you until 6:30 para hindi din nagkaroon ng confusion. Baka magbigay ako ng schedule tapos nalipat pala kayo sa kabilang section. So ganun lang muna ngayon. Pero before tayo mag-end, any concerns or clarifications? Wala man siguro, no? Ganun pa rin ang grading system. Ganun pa rin ang grading system, ha? 40 na, 30 lang actually ang exam. 30 na exam, 40 yung mga task na binibigay sa inyo. And then, another 30 for like my quizzes. I don't really give that much of quizzes. Let's turn it into activities na lang. Okay? So, ganun lang. Wala na. Sure na, wala pa ta sa class mode. So, mag-chill muna tayo. Okay. So, wala nang concern. So, I guess let's see each other. Yeah, it's nice to see you again. Wala pa tayo nagkita sa personal, no? Kasi nasa Jensen pa rin ako. Okay. Let's see each other the week after next. So, that's August 17. For the meantime, you may leave the Google Meet.
Thank you, Marisa.
Bye.
Thank you, Marisa.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone. Recording.